propellant feeder arms, the yellow bars. The ignition sequence begins with these cryogenic arms, the yellow bars there. They pull back at -5 seconds. You'll hear the DDO call out to 5, which is, of course, French for 5, and then they retract. At 0, the DDO will call out allumage, which is ignition, and then the main engine will light, but we do not lift off. Count to 7 once you have seen H0. For 7 full seconds, the computers are going to be checking the main engine while it's burning on the pad. They check it twice to confirm it. Better to do this on the ground than once we're airborne, of course. If all is well, then and only then they give the order to light the boosters, and we're off.
Attention pour le décompte final.
Final countdown. We'll be back after Ariane has cleared the top.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, unité 0. Allumage du moteur Vulcain. Allumage des EAP, décollage. Les paramètres à bord sont normaux.
So, right on time with the new launch window, Ariane began her mission, blasting off the pad, leaving the trail of gold behind her. Very clear shots. We mentioned that the skies have been very clear, and beautiful images for the people on the beaches and around the base here with their cameras. Our cameraman, René Zamor, is out on the balcony following Ariane flight.
Paramètres à bord sont normaux.
The DDO is saying that everything on board is normal. 774 tons now at liftoff as Ariane leaves the ground. She's burning 5 tons of fuel per second. Yes, you heard that right, 5 tons per second. That's 2.5 tons burning in each booster. And the core stage is burning another 300 kilos of fuel per second. Ariane now following the program in the onboard computer, which gives all the orders, including the stage separations, which we will soon see. And I imagine we'll be able to see the booster separation with the eye unaided because the skies are so clear. It has been known to happen. We're in the first of 4 flight phases. The first 3 are powered. The last is not. We will describe each in turn and in detail so you can follow Ariane as she heads across the Atlantic, where she'll separate the satellites after passing over Africa. Right now, the first flight phase, the single Vulcan core stage engine and the 2 boosters are burning. They're going to burn for another, I would say, 5 or 6 seconds, and they'll be the first to be extinguished. And it looks like they are right on time. That looks like the flame out of the boosters. There it is, right on time. You saw that with the unaided eye. That's wonderful. The DDO has called out confirmation of that. This is what it looks like up there. There's another booster out of camera range on the left, but they're dropped back 500 kilometers from shore in an unprotected area. Beautiful shot there. You see the main engine burning on the right and the 2 boosters falling away to the left and below. We may be able to see the fairing separation with the unaided eye. Take a look at the curve on the upper left. On the upper left, you have the cursor crawling up the line there. The cursor represents the actual real-time trajectory. And the line there represents the optimum trajectory. As long as one is on the other, we're right where we should be. On the lower left, the 2 bottom lines, A and V. A is the altitude, 111 kilometers, and V is the speed. You see 2.25 kilometers per second. And the DDO has just called out separation, I should say, of the fairing. You see how that happens. There's another half, which is blown away outside, out of camera range on the right. The fairing is dropped at over 100 kilometers, and you can see exposing ASTRA, the gold and blue box, to the confines of space. We're going to go to a recap of what happened on July 1st and everything that's happened since. During the first launch attempt, the countdown was stopped during the synchronized sequence because a hydrogen feed valve in the main stage did not open. Water in some of the hoses in the main stage was identified as the cause.
This high level of hygrometry prevents the valve and other regulation systems of this stage from functioning properly. They must be able to operate at very low temperatures of between -250 and -269 degrees Celsius. At these temperatures, water freezes to a very hard solid and prevents the moving parts of this mechanism from operating. This high level of humidity is the main cause of the anomaly encountered. Once the cause had been identified, we took corrective action to ensure proper operation of the cryogenic systems. This consisted in blowing dry helium through all the cryogenic lines to achieve a very low level of hygrometry and rule out malfunctioning of the systems exposed to the cryogenic environment.
Ariane Space, together with ESA, CNES and the industrial partners, set up a task force to solve the problem. It's an approach that's key to the success of the Ariane 5 system.
The teams work very hard 6 days a week to achieve the objectives Edouard was just describing. For the future, we have initiated further studies aimed at improving the drying procedure applied to these lines and the traceability of corresponding operations. Finally, we think it's important to introduce independent supervision of suppliers to detect anomalies in these pipes early in the integration process.
Thanks to the work carried out by these dedicated teams, both at the space base in Kourou and in Europe, the launcher was declared flight-worthy by the Launch Readiness Review, giving the green light for tonight.
Our action plan enables us to resume the countdown this evening in compliance with all the cryogenic requirements after correcting all the causes and consequences of the anomaly encountered on July 1st.
Okay, so now you know all about that. You also know that Soyuz and Vega are coming to the CSG. Instead of one launcher, we'll have 3 very soon. Take a look now at this film on the Ariane family.
Since the start of 2011, Ariane Space has been fully involved in the exploitation of the 3 launch systems, Ariane, Soyuz and Vega. Our operational teams in the Operations Division are now deployed on all 3 fronts, the 3 launch pads at this Guyana Space Center. For Ariane, we're going to pursue the preparation and exploitation of the Ariane launch vehicle. Since the start of the year, we have had 3 launches in 3 months.
In April, Ariane Space, with its Russian partners, performed qualification tests on the Soyuz launch base. This included a full dry run rehearsal of all countdown procedures, including transfer of the vehicle to the launch zone.
The success of this test, which was carried out in early May, has made it possible for us to plan the first launch of Soyuz for the 20th of October. In other words, as soon as the Galileo satellites, which are the passengers, are here in French Guiana.
Ariane Space is bringing its technical and operational know-how, the fruit of 30 years' experience, to supervise the Vega qualification campaigns.
We are drawing on the experience of our teams in the context of Ariane, and also we're familiarizing ourselves with the installations that we'll be responsible for in the short term. The success of this qualification campaign will make it possible to plan the first launch for the end of the year.
Ariane Space doesn't only provide launch service and solutions, it offers a complete range of services for its customers.
In the interests of our customers, Ariane Space has a long-term partnership with the space insurance sector on the basis of a technical transparency and communications policy that's highly developed. This partnership makes it possible for us to have a real relationship of trust with all of the players on the space insurance market.
The world's first space transportation company, Ariane Space, remains the leader in launch service and solutions.
The simultaneous deployment of our operational teams on the 3 launch sites is a concrete illustration of Ariane Space's strategy. For us, with this simultaneous exploitation of the 3 launch sites, we're offering a unique launch service, which is the world reference.
We are coming up on the end of the first stage burn, which is burned for about 10 minutes. This will mark roughly the end of the first half of the mission, and the DDO has called out separation of the lower stage. You can see how that happens, and the ignition of the upper stage he has just called out. These are three orders: extinction of the lower stage, separation of the lower stage, and ignition of the upper stage, which are given by the onboard computer in about 12 or 13 seconds. You see what's left of the composite there. From our 775 tons at liftoff, we're down to about 26 tons. We have 2 satellites and some adapters and the CILDA, the carrying structure, which we'll talk about in a moment, and the vehicle equipment bay and the computers. All is going well. You see our altitude on the left, on the bottom left, and the speed 7 kilometers per second. We need to be between 8 and 9 kilometers per second to inject the satellites, so watch for that. In the second half of the mission, we can start to focus on the satellites. The first of some films now, beginning with a long friendship between Ariane and ASTRA.
It was about 2 years ago that, together with the Project SES and ASTRIUM teams, we began preparing the ASTRA-110 mission.
The mission of the ASTRA-110 satellite is replacement capacity at the 19.2 degrees east longitude hot orbital position. This is where ASTRA operates its direct-to-home television services. It's actually going to start off at 28.2 degrees east, though, for a period of time until another satellite is able to come in there and replace it. When it's at 28.2, it's going to be serving the British Isles for direct-to-home service there, too. It should start its service at 28.2 around mid-September.
This cooperation dates back more than 25 years, and so far 23 satellites have been launched.
We have experts from Ariane Space that are available to answer the questions that we have about the rocket preparations, and they're very knowledgeable and very open about answering these questions. And for us, this is actually very important. We also have, the technical people from the satellite manufacturer. In this case, it's ASTRIUM, knowledgeable, very transparent about the preparations of the satellite itself.
We are delighted to see this cooperation continuing with the recent signature of the ASTRA 5B launch contract, the imminent arrival in French Guiana of SES-2, and of course, this evening's launch.
We had a very special event during this particular launch campaign, the signing of the fairing logo on the launch vehicle. We have the ASTRA logo, but we also have a BILD logo there. And BILD is a daily newspaper in Germany, and they're helping us get the message out to convert existing analog television subscribers to digital.
We are in the third and final powered flight phase. The second stage will burn for 16 minutes in all.